Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you from hot North Carolina, where it is so hot that it's killing the weeds. Welcome to the 2019 Appalachian Trail Thru Hiker update for July 21st. If you're new to the channel, this channel is all about building a hiker community and supporting the thru hiker community for this year and years to come. This year, obviously, we're focusing on the 2019. The best way you can support them and help build this hiker community is go down and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll get my weekly updates, and then go to my Facebook page at Ramdino Roaming the Trails, and there you will find a list of all the links for people that are posting on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and trail journals, and some other ways as well. So we hope you'll do that and help spur these thru hikers all the way to Katahdin or all the way to Springer or whichever direction they're going. It's been a tough year this year, and particularly over this past week, it's been terribly hot, and they look forward to all the support you can give them. So let's go ahead and give you the updates of what's going on the trail right now. Right now we are somewhere on bag tags that Nobos that have reached the halfway point at Harper's Ferry, somewhere around 1,500. 2 days ago, the best I could track is we were at 1,450 was the number that was assigned to the latest Nobo to come through there. So that was 2 days ago. Hopefully we're somewhere around 1,500 or thereabouts now. We don't have any summit reports this week of folks that we're tracking. If you're out there and you summited and we're tracking you, or just if you summited in general and you'd like to be included on the next update, please let me know. Be glad to include you in our summit report. And if you think you're gonna, if you're all on the channel, or if you're not on channel, what have you, but if you are going to be summiting and you have a general date in mind for this coming week, then please let us know, and we want to watch out for those updates so that we can include you in the congratulations on you summiting at Katahdin. Weather report we've got coming up. This heat wave is going to be breaking here real soon, within the next day or so. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, you're going to have rain Monday and Tuesday, with the rest of the week's going to look pretty clear. Temps are going to be in the low 80s, but they will be building up to the high 80s by the end of the week, and the humidity is going to be a little on the sticky side. Dalton, Massachusetts, you'll have rain Monday and Tuesday as well. Your temps are going to be in the high 70s to low 80s, and it's going to be a little sticky for you as well. Gorham, New Hampshire, you'll have rain Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be a little hotter for you, even though you're a little farther north, and a little stickier for you as well, with your temps in the mid 70s in the midweek and building up in the high 80s by the end of the week. And then at Monson, Maine, up there, it's going to be rain Monday and Tuesday again, with temps in the high 70s, ramping up to the high 80s by the end of the week. And again, it's going to be pretty sticky. So seems to be the temperature's kind of inverted itself than what's normal, and the further north you go, the hotter it's going to be. So of course these temps and humidities are for those towns that when you get to elevation, particularly like in the Whites and up at higher elevations in the mountains, then you will cool down somewhat, and hopefully you'll get a good breeze blowing up there. Hiker bubble, the main hiker bubble that kind of started when most of the people started, is somewhere approximately in the Massachusetts area. So here's a graphic showing you where it is. It is, of course, spread out by the time you get up there, but that's kind of where the midpoint of the hiker bubble is. If you started earlier, then you are, obviously we've had some folks summit, like Hawk and Wrong Way. He is in the Maine and around the pond, so he's getting up there. But early starters are somewhere around the Vermont, New Hampshire border, and late starters, they're somewhere around northern Pennsylvania near the New Jersey border area. So people get further north, that bubble will move up there, and we'll keep tracking those folks as they go, and looking forward to the folks that are getting up there in the main bubble, getting up around the summit area at Baxter State Park at Katahdin, and when we start seeing tons of folks summit up there. Hikers on the trail that we have updates for this week. Papa John, he is in the Webster Mountain vicinity. He says the temps are a little cooler than the heat advisories called for, and that there's a good wind blowing up there. He actually said it was 20 to 30 mile an hour wind, so that's actually pretty brisk, or that's a pretty stout wind blowing up there, enough to blow you off. So but it can cool you off up there. So Papa John, appreciate that information. He said the altitude definitely helps him out. Try, she's taking a break, couple zeros in New York City due to the heat and her concussion that she had earlier this year, a couple weeks ago. She is doing much better with that and starting to feel normal again, but she did not want to push it, and that is a great way to look at it, way to take care of yourself. Not only looking forward to you finishing, but also for your family, and there's just no point in risking your health through this heat, and particularly through an injury like that. So Try, she is going to be back on the trail in a couple days. G-Pack and B-Pack, they are around the Vermont, New Hampshire border, and they are under the 500-mile mark. Gypsy Wonder, she's in New Jersey. Nav and Air, they are in Massachusetts, and they will be passing the 1600 mark in the next day or so. Air is doing really well after her Lyme disease, and she is still on antibiotics, but she's doing great. And as you recall, possibly she had a haircut when she got to Harper's Ferry, so hopefully that's helped her deal with the heat some, but Navigator did tell me she's watching her real close. X is at the will pass the 1200 mark this week, and she'll soon be in the triple digits left on her journey. And so we wish her the best, even though Baby Feet had to go home with a foot injury. X is doing great out there. I encourage you to go and look at her videos that she's had, particularly those that she's posted since Baby Feet had to leave her, that she's been out there by herself, which has been very unusual because for 1,100 plus miles, she has had a hiking companion and no longer has that out there. And she spent several nights in the woods and the shelters by herself. So kudos to you, X. You're doing a great job out there, and I know that you are growing mentally as you spend some time out there by yourself. And hopefully Baby Feet can be with you in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Punky, she says she'll be getting off the trail around July 28th for this year after completing roughly 50% of the trail. So that's great, Punky. Dog Treat, he's in Vermont, and he has passed the 1600 mile mark on his 100 mile, or rather 100-day journey on the AT. Wonder Woman, they are past Rutland, Vermont. They are doing great. Dower Duo, they are somewhere around Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and they are north of the 1500 mile mark. Champ, he's near Blue Springs, Pennsylvania. Anchor and Lightning are in Lee, Massachusetts. And Lightning, unfortunately, got stung by a bunch of bald-faced hornets. So she was in terrible shape there, and you get stung a whole bunch of times. Just one time's enough to bother me, but you get stung a whole bunch of times, that develops into health emergency very quickly. So Anchor and the family that she's with got her off the trail and got into town, so they're taking a couple zeros so that she can recuperate from those stings and hopefully be back on the trail in another day or so. Minnesota Hikings are in New Jersey on the boardwalks. Runa is around Port Clinton, and Lolly and Pop, they have made it to Connecticut, and they are possibly in or close to the Massachusetts line now. Amy and John, they crossed over into New York, and they're somewhere around the Warwick, New York area. Why Not? It's near the Bigelows, and she says the hiking in the heat has been brutal, but she is still having the time of her life. So great attitude there, Why Not? Wrong Way says that he is loving the 100-mile wilderness, and he is near the Crawford Pond area. He says he's been taking advantage of the ponds he's been passing and hopping in there to get himself relieved of some of this heat. And he is near Katahdin, so he ought to be able to see Katahdin in the next couple days real soon. So we are excited for you, Wrong Way, and that's just awesome that you've made it up there. If I've missed your update, and I apologize for that, please go to my Facebook page to the Instant Measures there and send me your update later on in the week. We'll be glad to include you in any of our updates. We want to include everybody that we can as possible so the hiking community can go out there and see how things are going with you and go to your channel or your page and just spur you on as you continue on your trek all the way to Katahdin or all the way to Springer. Off the trail this week, P-Dat had to get off the trail due to foot injuries, and he's had several injuries this year. So again, he's had some foot injuries. He had to get off. Maybe Wonder, she is off due to a meniscus tear, so she will probably not be getting back on. And last but certainly not least, Pork Chop is one of the fan favorites out there. He has had to get off the trail, and he is right at 200 miles from Katahdin. So he had crossed into Maine, but he started having an episode where he actually passed out in the shelter, and so he was had applesauce was on his way to pick him up to take him south to pick up an area that he 20-mile section that he missed due to a navigational error. and he was going to hit that, and then he was going to continue on, but this episode happened right before applesauce picked him up, and so he went ahead and had applesauce take him to urgent care, and they indicated there might be some cardiac issues going on, so he has returned home down to South Carolina, going to go see his doctor and see if what's going on and if he can get it straightened out and get back on the trail. But Pork Chop, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we hope to see you back out on the trail. But if not, then you have accomplished such a fantastic and awesome accomplishment, making it all the way up to Maine, and we're just proud of you for doing that, bud, and look forward to whatever videos you got coming out and letting us know how things are going with your health issue there. News from the trail, hiker alert in Pennsylvania. There was some hikers on the AT in and around Port Clinton, Pennsylvania, to the Smith Gap near Kunkletown, Pennsylvania, and they have been asked by the ATC to keep an eye out for a person that is wanted by the National Park Service. So here is a mugshot of this fella. He had actually already done 10 years for rape before, and apparently got out, and now he has been charged with that again, and he did not appear in court for that charge, and so the authorities are after him. So it must be pretty significant if the National Park Service has asked the ATC to put out a warning about him. So he doesn't look like he's charged with anything involving a weapon or anything like that. It looks like that he has just been preying on women, which is obviously a terrible, violent act in and of itself. But if you see this fella, then please contact 911 would be your quickest way. Certainly the ATC or the National Park Service. Unfortunately, we had a hiker die at Hawk Mountain, Pennsylvania, which is near Pulpit Rock, due to cardiac arrest. They are not sure if it was heat related or not, but given the circumstances, it possibly is. I don't think this individual was a through hiker, but we don't know all the facts on that yet. The area that he was in, I don't believe he was a through hiker, because it is not on one of the trail systems that the AT crosses there, to my knowledge. So, but he's in that area, and the heat, so we need to all be out to be aware of the heat. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And y'all on the trail have really experienced some brutal heat conditions over this past week, where the heat index, particularly up north, it's been even worse than in the south, has been in the triple digits. I saw somewhere where around New York it was 115 was the heat index, so that's just crazy. But it's been worse for y'all, and heat injuries are just as real, if not more so, than a musculoskeletal injury. So, people typically don't die from a musculoskeletal injury, but they certainly can die from a heat injury. So, the heat injury, the scale, the way it works, you start out with heat cramps, and then you have heat exhaustion, and then you go to heat stroke. So heat cramps are typically what they say they are. You start cramping up, you start having some, muscle groups and things like that, start having some spasms and jerking involuntarily during your exercise, or wherever you're at on the trail, so that's kind of the first notice that you're having some problems. I know that we can have cramps and things like that out there, but this is things that are ongoing, that's unusual for you. So that's kind of your first indication you've got a heat injury going on, and obviously you need to drink water, but part of the problem is you may be hydrated, you might be dehydrated. In either case, if you're just drinking water without adding any type of electrolytes to it, then you could have a deficit there and electrolytes in your system, salt, other minerals like that, and that could be causing the problem of causing the heat cramps. And then the heat cramps can continue on into heat exhaustion. And the symptoms of heat exhaustion are, of course, the muscle cramps, but also dizziness, confusion, fast heart rate, headache, extreme thirst, which you've got that anyway on the trail, nausea, vomiting, pale skin, and possibly fainting. So those are the symptoms of heat exhaustion. If you let those symptoms go on without doing something, at that point you need to stop what you're doing, get into a shelter. The best thing to do is get to town, but stop, slow down, get to a shelter somewhere, get water in you, but start making arrangements to get to town to possibly go to urgent care, or certainly to start getting rehydrated with something besides just plain water with some electric lights. But then the heat exhaustion can progress into heat stroke, which you can very well die from. And that's when the body temperature gets over 104 degrees. You may stop sweating altogether. Sometimes you still are sweating, but your skin is still gets dry even though you're sweating. You might have hallucinations, erratic behavior, rapid shallow breathing, weak pulse, and you could faint, pass out, loss of consciousness. So folks, heat injuries are very real. I know you're all looking out for each other, but during this heat period, and even though the temperatures are coming down this coming week, we're still going to have, the temperatures are still going to be in the high 80s. You can have heat exhaustion and heat injuries even in that, as well as the high humidity out there that you're going to be experiencing. And then the summer is not over by any means, so you very well could have another hot heat area coming through. And looking at long-term forecast, that is more likely to happen within the next week, 2 weeks, something like that. So as a jet stream comes through and it starts pulling in more hot air from the Gulf, then it's going to get hot up there. So you guys, I know you're doing it, but I can't emphasize enough, look out for each other. Make sure each other's sweating, talk to each other, make sure you're talking rational, even if you're just testing somebody. So heat injuries and death from heat are very real, and that is something we do not need on the trail. And all those are another good reason why it's a good idea, particularly right now, to hike with somebody else if you can. Mention that lightning got stung by those bald-faced hornets. That was somewhere between Jerusalem Road and the main road, around mile marker 1,542.5. So that's 1542.5. Apparently there was some hornets up underneath some old planks that got to them, and so look for those on the trail. Have no idea why there's old planks in the middle of the trail somewhere, but there are. And that's near Lee, Massachusetts, again at mile 1542.5. So be on the lookout for that. Little Mike hikes. He did a section hike from Tennessee 91 to 19E, and apparently he was going sub-O, and he said as he came down off the ridge around Watauga Dam area that water in that area is few and far between. So you just need to make sure that you're getting water where you can, and cameling up where you can before that area. And it's like that in lots of places going up and down the trail. I've noticed that some trail angels have been putting out some water caches, and we greatly appreciate you looking after through hikers doing that, trail angels, and please continue to do so. Even though the heat indexes may come down, it's still going to be dry weather up there, and hikers need that water. So thank you very much for doing that. Just as a reminder, the Kennebuck River ferry service up there in Maine is only open from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So do not ford that river. You're going to have to plan your hike on getting there between those hours of 9 to 2, because that river is dam controlled and it can come up without warning, and it's too wide for you to try to get across in a hurry. And if you're in the middle of it somewhere, it's going to get high enough to where people have actually drowned there. So be sure you're planning around for that ferry service there, and that's the only ferry service that's necessary on the Appalachian Trail. And then another thing I found on the ATC website is that they have an offer for an ATC Strong sticker for free. So you just have to go and sign up for that. And of course, they're going to get your information, your mailing address, and your email, and that may just be a ploy to try to get that information from you. However, they've already got it from me. If you're a member, they've already got it from you. So why not go and get you a sticker there? And just remind us of everything that how the community's come together with all the things that have happened this year on the trail, particularly the murder that happened in May, that we've adopted that AT Strong, or hashtag AT Strong, and we've adopted that kind of as our own this year. And so why not go ahead and get you that sticker and put it on your water bottle, your car, or whatever. But it is free there. Bear reports, still got bear reports going on. Smokies there at Birch Spring campsite at mile 172, and Icewater Spring Shelter at mile 210.8. Still got the alert going on for bears in Grayson Highlands and Mount Rogers, at the Thomas Knob Shelter at mile 499, and the Hurricane Shelter at 515. McQueen's Gap in North Carolina at mile 457, bear warnings there. Cosby Knob Shelter, which is on the last shelter at the north end of the Smokies, we got bear warnings there. Black Rock Hut Shelter and the Shanties has got a temporary closing in that area due to an incident up there, and that's at mile 884. Vermont, due to some multiple bear incidents around Goddard Shelter, that's at mile 1622, is now closed, and they've had some issues also around the Kid Gore Shelter at mile 1627, the Story Spring Shelter at mile 1631, and the Stratton Pond Shelter at mile 1642. So all those are right in a row. So they've had some bear activities that they are warning you to be cautious up there. The ATC has a way that you can go and report any bear instances. I'll leave that link down here in the description section, and basically it's a survey online. It asks a lot of questions, but it's a good way where you can go and report any kind of bear instances, and by instance we mean not just a sighting of a bear, but something where the bear has maybe moved towards you, been aggressive, obviously stealing food, taking packs, coming around your campsite. All those would qualify, but just a bear sighting in and of itself, when the bear didn't move or the bear didn't come towards you, is probably not worthy of reporting that. But any other incident would be reporting, and it'd be a good idea for folks to do that. Well, I am going to be doing a section of the southern end of the Smokies coming up this coming weekend, starting on the 25th. Looking forward to that. I'll be going all the way from the Hilton shelter there, the Fontana Dam, all the way to Newfound Gap. So I am pumped up about getting myself out there on the trail. I'll be getting at altitude, so hopefully it won't be very hot, or at least not as bad as it has been. And we do have a cool front coming through, so looks like it's going to be a good weekend. I'm excited about that. If you want to come out and join me, you're welcome to do that. Love to have you along. And just give me a shout at my IM, or you can go and even leave a comment down below, or send me a text over on my Instagram account. Don't forget, we've got Hikers Helping Hikers down the list down there, and those are folks that you can go and support through their different things they're doing to help themselves and to raise money to get them through their hikes, as well as just folks, hikers out there like Fresh Ground and people like that are helping hikers on the trail. So we want to include their links so that you can go and support them or give them an attaboy as well. And then lastly, if you're doing trail magic and you'd like for us to get the word out, we'll be glad to do that. We have done that in the past and been successful. So just send me a message or a comment, and I'll be glad to not only do it through the community section on this channel, but I'll go ahead and post it to the different AT groups that I'm a member of, and we'll get the word out there so folks can come and enjoy your trail magic. Well, folks, that is all I've got this week. I'm going to get in out of this heat. I appreciate you staying in here to the end, and as always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out there.